I'm not a man. I'm an animal!
I think the biggest mistake people make with Beast Boy is reducing him to comic relief. And don't get me wrong, Beast Boy is funny, he's chaotic, he's unserious at the worst possible times. He is absolutely the type of person to turn into a monkey during a serious conversation just because the room got too quiet. But that's exactly why he works. Because Beast Boy's humor is not random, it's survival. Beast Boy isn't funny because life has been easy. Beast Boy is funny because life has been hard, and laughter became the one thing nobody could take from him. And that is the heart of this movie. Each Titan has a different way of protecting themselves. Robin hides behind discipline, Cyborg hides behind technology, Starfire hides behind hope, Raven hides behind emotional control, but Beast Boy hides behind comedy. He feels silence before sadness can enter the room. He makes people laugh before they can pity him. He becomes the joke before anyone else can turn him into one. And that makes him one of the most emotionally interesting Titans because his pain is not loud. It's disguised, it's painted green and wrapped in laughter. This movie should not be about proving Beast Boy can be serious. That would be the wrong approach because Beast Boy does not need to stop being funny to be meaningful. His humor is part of his humanity. Instead, this movie should show us why the jokes exist in the first place. At the center of Beast Boy's story is identity. Garfield Logan can become any animal, such as a tiger, a bird, a gorilla, a snake, a wolf, a creature of instincts, survival, and motion. But the real question is who is Garfield Logan when he's not performing, when he is not joking, when he is not transforming, and when nobody is looking? That's what makes Beast Boy's powers so symbolic. He can become everything because deep down he's not sure who he is. So this movie should be about a boy who has been changed by trauma, science, grief, and survival, trying to figure out whether any part of the old him is still there. And by the end, the answer should be yes, but not in the way he expects. Because Garfield does not become a hero by returning to who he used to be, he becomes a hero by accepting who he is now. The tone of Beast Boy's movie should feel completely different from Raven's. If Raven's movie is psychological horror and supernatural dread, Beast Boy's movie should feel like emotional sci fi adventure with comedy, movement, and coming of age drama. This lineup should be the brightest or second brightest movie in the Titans lineup. But bright does not mean shallow, it means alive. The colors should pop, the movement should be fast, the camera should follow Garfield like it can barely keep up with him. When he runs, we run. When he leaps, we leap. When he transforms, the world shifts with him. Because Garfield Logan is motion. He is the kind of person who keeps moving because if he slows down for too long, grief might catch him. Visually, this movie should have two major worlds. The first is nature, the jungle, the wilderness, animal sanctuaries, research camps, rain soaked leaves, glowing eyes in the dark, the sound of insects, birds, and distant predators. While the second should be civilization, cities, labs, concrete, surveillance, fluorescent lighting, corporate buildings, places that try to study, categorize, and control what Garfield has become. And Beast Boy exists between those two worlds, not fully human in the way people expect, and not fully animal either, something in between. And the movie should use his transformations as emotional storytelling. When Garfield is scared, he turns into smaller animals, such as a bird or a mouse, something fast enough to escape. When he is angry, the predator forms come out, such as a tiger, wolf, panther, something with teeth. When he feels protective, he becomes something massive, such as a gorilla, a bear, or a rhino, something built to shield others. And when he feels free, he flies. Bird transformations should be used carefully in this movie because they should represent the one thing Garfield wants more than anything freedom. This is where Beast Boy's powers become more than CGI. Every animal form should tell us something about what Garfield is feeling, even when he refused to say it out loud. The comedy should be there. This movie should be funny. Garfield should be charming, awkward, messy, and ridiculous. But the humor should sit beside sadness because that is Beast Boy. He is not light because he lacks darkness. He is light because he refuses to let darkness be the only thing in him. The movie begins before Garfield Logan becomes Beast Boy, before the green skin, before the animal transformations, before the jokes become armor. He is just Gar, a bright, talkative, energetic kid traveling with his parents, Mark and Mari Logan, who are scientists and wildlife researchers. They study rare animal behavior, endangered ecosystems, and unusual genetic diseases found in isolated environments. And right away, we see that Garfield's parents love him, not in a distant cinematic parent way where they're only there to die for backstory. We need to spend time with them. We need to see his mother laughing at his bad jokes, his father letting him help with animal observations, Garfield naming animals he absolutely shouldn't be naming. Like, for instance, like a monkey stealing a pair of equipment, and Garfield immediately calls him Professor Banana Hands. And we get to see his parents laugh, and that matters because Garfield's humor starts as joy before it becomes survival. Then the expedition goes wrong. Garfield becomes infected with a rare disease, something connected to the environment they're studying. His body starts failing, his parents panic. Traditional medicine does not work, so in a desperate attempt to save their son, they use an experimental treatment involving animal DNA, unstable genetic therapy. It works, Garfield survives, but when he wakes up, everything is different. His skin is green, his senses are sharper, animals react to him strangely, not like he is human, not like he is animal, but like he is something both familiar and impossible. He survives the disease, but survival leaves fingerprints all over him. And then tragedy hits. His parents died during a catastrophic incident tied to the same research organization funding their expedition and Garfield is left alone. This is where the movie shifts. The loud kid becomes quiet, not forever, but long enough for the audience to feel the absence. No jokes, no animal names, no silly comments, just silence. Eventually, Garfield is taken in by the Doom Patrol. The Doom Patrol becomes the first place where Garfield does not feel like a complete accident. They are strange, damaged, and changed people, too. People who know what it means to look in the mirror and see a life you did not ask for. And with them, Garfield begins to heal, not perfectly, but enough to smile again. The Doom Patrol does not replace the family Garth lost. They simply remind him he can still have one. At first, this is comforting. Garfield jokes again. He trains. He learns how to control his powers. He turns into animals during missions, sometimes successfully, sometimes terribly. There should absolutely be a scene where he dramatically tries to become a tiger and accidentally becomes a house cat. But over time, Garfield starts noticing something. The Doom Patrol loves him, but they also protect him too much. They leave him behind. They tell him he is not ready. They call him kid. They worry when he transforms too long, and they treat every mistake like a warning sign. And Garfield starts wondering, am I a part of this team or am I their responsibility? That question eats at him because he is grateful to them. He loves them, but grateful and growth are not always the same thing. Then comes the major mission. The Doom Patrol investigates the biotech corporation tied to Garfield's transformation. The same people who funded his parents' research, Garfield insists on going for once he does not want to be left behind. And during the mission, things start spiraling. The corporation has been experimenting with cross species enhancement technology. They do not see Garfield as a child, they see him as a breakthrough, a living weapon, proof that human biology can be rewritten. During the fight, Garfield loses control. His transformations become rapid and unstable. He turns into a tiger, a snake, a gorilla, a hawk, a wolf, a rhino, back to human, back to beast. He starts saving people, but he also scares them too, including himself. Afterwards, he overhears the Doom Patrol talking. They're not angry, they're afraid for him. One of them says, we can't let him do that again. And that breaks him because all Garfield hears is, they still don't trust me. So that night, he leaves. No big fight, no screaming, no dramatic betrayal. He just packs his things quietly. looks at old photos, smiles through the tears, and leaves a note saying, "Thank you for giving me a home. Think it's time I figure out who I am." That moment is the emotional turning point of the movie. Because Garfield is not leaving because the Doom Patrol failed him, he is leaving because they loved him enough to help him survive. But now he has to learn how to live. Out on his own, Garfield tries to become his own hero. But being alone is harder than he expected. The world is loud, people stare, some people laugh, and some people fear him, and some record him on their phones. And once again, Garfield turns himself into entertainment before anyone else can make him feel like a freak. Meanwhile, the biotech corporation begins hunting him. Their villain should not be some random evil scientist with no emotional connection. The villain should represent the coldest possible reading of Beast Boy's identity. To them, Garfield is not a person, he is evolution. He is property, and he is the future of warfare. They tell him that humans will never accept him. They tell him the Doom Patrol kept him small. And they tell him the world will always fear what he is. And the painful thing is, part of him believes it because Garfield has spent the whole movie being looked at as a problem, a miracle, a weapon, a child, a monster. Everything except simply himself. In the final battle, Garfield is pushed to his breaking point. The corporation uses technology designed to destabilize his transformations, forcing him to shift uncontrollably. His body becomes a storm of instinct. He is not choosing forms anymore. His fear chooses, his anger chooses, and his grief chooses. This is not just Beast Boy fighting a villain, this is Garfield fighting the fear that he has become nothing but instinct. And for a moment, it looks like he might lose himself. But then he remembers his parents, his mother laughing, his father teaching him to observe animals with respect, the Doom Patrol training him, the people who loved him before he knew how to love himself. And Garfield realizes the truth. The animal inside him is not the enemy. The beast is not something he has to defeat. It is something he has to understand. He wins by understanding that compassion is what makes him human, no matter what shape his body takes. Garfield defeats the corporation and destroys their research, not out of revenge, but because nobody else deserves to be turned into a project the way he was. By the end, the Doom Patrol finds him, and this time they do not drag him home, they let him choose. They finally see that Garfield is not just their child anymore, he is becoming his own hero. So he hugs them goodbye, not forever, but for now. Then we move into the final scene. Garfield sits alone on a rooftop in the city eating snacks, pretending he is fine, which is a classic Beast Boy move, but something is different. He is not alone because he has nowhere to go, he is alone because he is choosing his next step. Then he sees something in the distance. A burst of light, an explosion, a fight breaking out near the harbor, and this is where everything starts converging. Robin is already there, moving through the shadows with precision. Cyborg arrives next, tracking unreadable and unstable energy readings. Raven appears from a dark portal, calm but clearly alert. Then Starfire comes crashing into the scene. And yes, I will connect this back to my Starfire movie pitch idea. So, if Starfire's movie included her being a prisoner, which is inspired by the Teen Titans 2003 Go Energy episode, then this final scene can show the aftermath of her escape. She is still being haunted. Maybe alien forces are closing in. Maybe the people who imprisoned her are trying to recapture her. And one by one, the future Titans are drawn to the same place. Not because they planned it, not because someone assembled them, but because each of them makes the choice to help. Garfield watches from the rooftop. For a second, he hesitates. Then he smiles, turns into a green hawk, and dives into the fight. This is the first time all five are on screen together, not as a team yet, not with a tower, not with matching trust, just five lonely young heroes colliding in the same moment. Robin gives orders like he's already decided he is in charge. Cyborg immediately questions that, but still follows suit. Starfire is confused and grateful. Raven looks like she wants to leave, and Beast Boy lands in the middle of all of them and says, "So, are we all pretending this isn't the weirdest night of our lives?" And that is where the movie ends. Not with the Teen Titans fully formed, but with the spark, the first moment, and the beginning of the United Front. Beast Boy's character development is one of the most emotional in the Titans lineup because it sneaks up on you. With Raven, the pain is obvious. With Robin, the trauma is built into the mission. With Cyborg, the identity crisis is visible. With Starfire, the loneliness is tied to displacement. But Beast Boy smiles. And because he smiles, people assume he is fine. That is why his movie has to challenge the audience's perception of him. At the start of the movie, Garfield's humor is innocent. He jokes because he is a happy kid, he has loving parents, he feels safe, and his imagination is encouraged. But after the tragedy, that same humor changes. It becomes his armor. Comedy becomes the mask Garfield wears before anyone else can hand him one. If he makes people laugh, they do not have to ask if he is hurting. If he acts unserious, they do not have to see how scared he is. If he becomes the joke, nobody else can use his appearance against him. That is heartbreaking because it means Beast Boy's greatest strength and his greatest defense mechanism are the same thing. His arc is not about losing the humor, it's about healing the reason he needs it so badly. The Doom Patrol plays a huge role in that. They give Garfield safety, they give him structure, and they give him love, but they also represent the complex side of found family. Because sometimes the people who save you do not always know how to let you grow beyond the version of you they rescued. That is not villainous, that is human. The Doom Patrol sees Garfield as the grieving green kid they took in, but Garfield wants to become more than a kid they protected. He wants to be trusted, he wants to be seen as capable, and he wants to make choices without everyone flinching like he might break. So when Garfield leaves, it should not feel ungrateful, it should feel mature. He is not rejecting the Doom Patrol, he is stepping beyond them. And that is such a beautiful coming of age theme. Because eventually, all of us have to leave some version of home, not because home failed us, but because home prepared us. Another major part of Garfield's development is identity. He can become every creature imaginable, but that makes the question of who he is even harder. Is he human? Is he animal? Is he a science experiment? Is he a survivor? Is he a weapon? Is he a joke or is he a hero? The villain wants to define him as evolution. The world defines him as strange. The Doom Patrol defines him as someone to protect, but Garfield has to define himself. And by the end of it, he chooses Beast Boy, not as a joke name, not as a brand, not as an identity, a declaration that he can be both soft and wild, funny and wounded, human and animal, and alone and still worthy of love. Garfield spends the whole movie believing he has to choose between being a boy and being a beast. By the end, he realizes the hero he was searching for exists somewhere in the middle. That is Beast Boy, and that is why he matters. Even though this is Beast Boy's solo movie, this should be the movie where the Teen Titans universe starts feeling unavoidable. Since Beast Boy is the last solo film before the full teen movie, the Easter eggs can be less subtle than before. Not too much, but enough to make the audience feel like everything is moving into place. One Easter egg could be Star Labs tracking Garfield's genetic instability, connecting him back to Cyborg's world. Another could be Robin investigating the same corporation that experimented on Garfield, because maybe that organization has ties to larger criminal networks. Raven's presence could be teased through strange psychic disturbances. Maybe Garfield transforms into a raven during one moment of fear, even though he has never taken that form before, it unsettles him, like something or someone is calling out from the edges of the story. And Starfire's tease can come through alien transmissions, news reports, strange lights in the sky, or maybe a leaked video of a glowing girl escaping containment, which connects beautifully back to my prisoner angle from her solo movie. The key is that all these Easter eggs should feel like threads being pulled toward the same knot. Because by the end of this movie, they are no longer separate stories. They are collision courses, and the final scene proves it. With us seeing Robin, Starfire, Cyborg, Raven, and Beast Boy all in the same place, all responding to the same threat, and all realizing, even if they don't say it, that none of them can keep doing this alone. This is the moment the universe stops whispering about the Teen Titans and finally lets them step into the same frame. Beast Boys soundtrack should be energetic, emotional, weird, funky, and alive. This should not sound like a traditional superhero score. It should feel youthful, restless, and playful on the surface, but sad when you listen closely. Beginning of the movie should have warm, adventurous sounds, something bright and percussive, music that feels like childhood curiosity, such as hand drums, guitars, playful bass lines, maybe even animal sounds subtly woven into the rhythm. Then, after Garfield loses his parents, the music should become quieter, still melodic, but emptier, like the song has lost part of itself. When he joins the Doom Patrol, the soundtrack should regain warmth, but in a stranger way. More alternative, more offbeat, a little quirky because the Doom Patrol is not normal, and that is exactly why they feel like home. For Garfield's solo movie, I would lean into indie rock, alternative pop, funk, and electric sounds. Artists with vibes like Gorillaz, Steve Lacy, Glass Animals, Paramount, Dominique Fleck, Kid Cudi, and Porter Robinson would fit this world really well. This soundtrack should feel like running through the city at night trying to outrun your own thoughts. During the final battle, the score should become massive. Animal calls woven into orchestral hits, drums matching heartbeats, strings rising during transformations. The music should feel like instinct becoming harmony. And by the time all five Titans appear in the final scene, the score should shift, not into the full Teen Titans theme yet, not completely, just the first few notes, a hint, a promise, like the universe is saying something bigger is coming. Casting Beast Boy is tricky because the actor has to do a lot. They have to be funny without feeling forced, energetic without becoming annoying, vulnerable without losing Garfield's spark, and most importantly, they have to make the audience believe that this goofy green kid is carrying grief he rarely talks about. So my first pick would be Xylo Maredune. I hope I pronounced his name right. He has that natural charm, humor, and emotional openness that will work really well for Garfield. He can play awkward and funny, but he can also bring sincerity when the scene needs to slow down. Another strong choice would be Walker Scobell. He has chaotic younger energy and could really capture the impulsive, fast talking side of Beast Boy. He feels like someone who could make the comedy land while still showing the insecurity underneath. I also think Jabari Banks could be an interesting choice, as he has warmth, emotional depth, and a natural likability that could make Garfield feel grounded rather than cartoonish. But the actor playing Beast Boy has to make you laugh instantly and then quietly break your heart 10 minutes later, because the emotional switch is the whole character. Beast Boy should never feel like he is trying too hard to be funny. He should feel like someone who learned to be funny because silence was too painful, and that is the performance, and that is the heart of this film. So that is the Beast Boy movie I am envisioning. Beast Boy Wild Heart, a coming of age sci fi adventure about a boy who loses his first family, finds a second family with the Doom Patrol, outgrows that home, and eventually collides with the people who will become his future. This movie matters because Beast Boy is more than comic relief. He is the emotional release valve of the Titans. He is the one who reminds everyone to breathe, to laugh, to keep going. But that doesn't mean he is painless. It means he chooses joy anyway. Beast Boy's story is secretly one of the saddest in the Teen Titans universe. He just tells it with a smile instead of tears. And that is why putting him last works so well. Robin's movie asks whether vengeance can become justice. Starfire's movie asks what it means to belong after being treated like property. Cyborg's movie asks what makes someone human when their body has been changed forever. Raven's movie asks whether we are defined by the darkness we inherit. And Beast Boy asks something beautifully simple. Can you still love yourself after life changes you forever? That question is the perfect final solo story before the Titans unite, because when you really look at these five heroes, they're not just a superhero team. They are five lonely young people searching for the same thing. A place where they do not have to explain why they are different, a place where they do not have to face the world alone, a place where their pain does not scare people away, and that is why the Teen Titans work. They do not become a team just because they need help defeating villains. They become a team because for the first time in their lives, they are finally finding family that chooses them. So, what do you think, Star Riders? Would you want a Beast Boy movie that balanced chaotic comedy with emotional sci fi drama? Would you want the Doom Patrol to be a major part of his story? And how would you feel seeing all five Titans finally come together in that final scene? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I would love to hear them. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell to join the journey through the stars for more out of this world ideas. Until next time, keep your pen to the stars and your heart in the pages. Sincerely yours.